Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Practicality, where we show and rate tools that bring you closer to your long-term goals. Today, we will present you an interesting book named Antifragile, 519 pages, so it takes some time to read. Where can this book help you? It is a helpful tool for philosophy, risk reduction, business, and life improvement. Let's do a deeper dive into the chapters and contents of this book. Keep watching to see how we rate this tool on practicality and readability. But before we dive deeper, if you want a constant supply of practical tools that help you reach your goals, then subscribe to our channel. Nassim Nicholas Taleb is the author of the Antifragile book. He also has a YouTube channel. Subscribe to him. There will be a link in the description below. Nassim Taleb is a statistician, a former option trader, a professor of risk engineering, and wrote also 5 more books. His most known other books are Black Swan, Skin in the Game, and Fooled by Randomness. Have you read any of these books? Let us know in the comments below. Fragility is when something loses from shock. If you drop a glass on the floor, the glass takes a shock and therefore it will break. This is fragility. Imagine now a glass that when you drop it on the floor, not only it doesn't break, but instead it gets exponentially stronger. This is anti-fragility, when things gain from shocks. Nassim Taleb in his book Antifragility explains that, for instance, anti-fragile would be a parcel saying please mishandle. One example of anti-fragility that Nassim Taleb mentions in his book is Hydra from Greek mythology. For every head chopped off, the Hydra would regrow 2 heads. Hydra was anti-fragile. More examples. Information. It spreads more on attempts to hoard. Ideas. It spreads more on attempts to suppress. Curiosity. If you listen, don't ask, we want to know more. Addiction. It is magnified by attempts to kill it. Entrepreneurship. Failed products and businesses lead to innovation. Science. Failed experiments lead to discoveries. Let us know in the comment section below more anti-fragility examples you can think of. When something gains from shaking, uncertainty, errors, shocks, volatility, it is anti-fragile. Anti-fragility is a property that characterizes something. It is similar with temperature. The same way we say something is warm or cold, we can also say that something is fragile or anti-fragile. The best part is that we can learn how to go from fragile to anti-fragile. Keep watching to see how. Machines, cars, buildings, cell phones, printers, even satellites are all fragile because they are harmed by stressors. Material fatigue kills them. Anything fragile hates volatility, noise. Dynamic forces make material actually break faster. On the other hand, biological matter such as tissue or bones is anti-fragile. Lack of stress in bones can cause, for instance, premature aging. In fact, living organisms are harmed by low or no stressors, a process called hormesis. Lack of training leads to muscle mass loss. Cold baths or saunas improve health. Pruning encourages growth and fruit production. Living organisms gain from stressors and therefore are anti-fragile. Another example, have you ever thought how we actually learn a new language? We learn it by failing and doing errors. Over time, we are not afraid of doing mistakes. More mistakes lead to more learning. We become anti-fragile. Scientists disprove hypotheses by doing multiple experiments. Every failed experiment provides new information about what does not work, allowing the scientists to zoom in on the theory. Pure anti-fragility. Entrepreneurs that start a business that fails are necessary for the system. Each failed business benefits most of the other entrepreneurs. This way, the system becomes anti-fragile by showing what does not work. The system is benefited from the shock. As Nassim Taleb explains in his book Antifragility, all the above sound a lot like the treasure hunt game. Scientists, learners, entrepreneurs all use the same method, trial and error. One needs to understand which outcome to discard and which outcome to keep. We do not look the same place twice. We discard what doesn't work and we arrive to the treasure. Huge upside. Nassim Taleb additionally explains in his book that the illusion of life is that despite the above observations, randomness, volatility are still perceived as risky and bad. Randomness is risky and bad if we are fragile. We have to realize that if we are anti-fragile, variability is good for us. Variability is new information that makes us continuously adapt, just like the treasure hunt game. This is, for instance, exactly what taxi drivers, dentists, entrepreneurs, plumbers constantly do. A bad day, variability, is information that something has to change for things to get better. All of them are anti-fragile. Let's get practical and take the dentist as an example. Let's say that the dentist has a disappointed client who makes a complaint. This is the shock, the variability, the information. The dentist has two options. Take the customer feedback and improve, or ignore it and stay the same. Deciding to ignore and staying the same is fragility. It will make future mistakes far worse. The dentist must learn to accept the noise, the shocks, the volatility, and become anti-fragile. Ignoring them will only lead to more disappointed customers in the future. If leaders at working environment they want to provide a stable environment for employees, they also must be open to employee feedback, take it positively and improve. This process works also in reverse. Injecting some confusion stabilizes the system. For instance, small forest fires remove the most flammable material from the forest, the system, and prevent biggest fires that would destroy the forest. In a similar way, reading the news makes us more anti-fragile. You might ask now why? Well, because by injecting noise, this is the news, we train ourselves, this is the system, to have a proper feeling of what is important and what is not important. If anti-fragility likes disorder, then fragility likes order. If anti-fragility let us gain from disorder, then fragility makes us gain from order. Being fragile means you depend on things to follow an exact planned course. The minute we start believing that we know how things will play out, we become fragile to error. We need to ask ourselves how we see things. Do we allow errors, chaos, disorder to teach us and become more anti-fragile? Nassim Taleb in his book Antifragile presents the barbell strategy, or Seneca's asymmetry as he calls it. It allows us to get maximum upside while minimizing our downside, avoiding ruin. One end has extreme risk aversion and the other side has risk love. We don't want to be in the middle, which is moderate risk. This applies, for instance, to everyday life. You can drink alcohol 10% of the time, and 90% of the time you should avoid alcohol. Or you can be 90% of the time very active and 10% of the time very relaxed. For instance, Bill Gates famously took 2 weeks alone time to allow himself to think and recharge. Barbell strategy can be applied also to portfolio management. For instance, 90% of the wealth can be in low-cost ETF, such as VTI, and 10% could be in penny stocks or crypto. If crypto goes to zero, you still survive. If it gives 100 bagger, you profit from it. Living a life with a barbell strategy, we are anti-fragile. We allow ourselves to gain from volatility, randomness, errors, uncertainty, stressors, shocks, and long-term we avoid ruin. Convex is anti-fragile. You can see here the smiley face. Black swans lead to positive gain in this case, the treasure. When volatility doubles, in this case, our gains can quadruple, for instance. An example is entrepreneurship. On the other side, concave is fragile. You see the sad face. Black swans are negative and cause pain, and when shock doubles, loss can quadruple. Traffic is, for instance, highly concave. Fragile systems can transition to anti-fragile by putting effort. When a shock arises, if we add introspection and we self-reflect and we try to learn from the shock, we become anti-fragile. Mithridates was king of Pontus, known to have poison immunity by exposing himself to small quantities of poison, a process that now it's called Mithridatism. Mithridatism can be applied to mistakes. To be anti-fragile, every time we make a mistake, we must make it a good mistake. Try to gain more than what this mistake cost us. Success brings an asymmetry. We have much more to lose than to gain. We become therefore fragile. We can, however, revert this by living a life with less dependence on belongings. If we have nothing to lose, there is only upside left, and we become anti-fragile. To understand how to be anti-fragile, we can simply ask how to not be fragile, how to eliminate fragility. Let's give a practical example. If your assets are distributed in 25% stocks and 75% crypto, we need to start by reducing the downside and protect us from the potential extreme harm. For instance, rebalancing assets using the barbell strategy and going 75% stocks and 25% crypto. Limited loss and unlimited gain. This is what we look for. The final strategy to help us transition from fragile to anti-fragile is via negativa. Via negativa is the study of what not to do. Charlie Munger calls this as well the inversion technique. Anti-fragile learning is about what to avoid. Negative knowledge, what doesn't work, is more robust because it doesn't rely on prediction. In summary, we have reviewed Antifragile book from Nassim Taleb. It is definitely a practical tool for risk reduction, for statistics about business, for business understanding, and also life overall. We give it a practicality score of 4 stars and readability also 4 stars. Definitely worth reading it. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for staying until the end. Please subscribe and press the notification bell to get all the content, and until next time, keep working.